everybody. I was just watching Sonia's video on the pages that I sent her, and I thought I would come on and show how I did some of the techniques so that if anybody watched it and wanted to know how I did a particular spot or whatever on her pages, I would have a way to show you. This is just one of the pieces of paper that I'll put one out when I'm working on something, and then this is where all my extra paint goes. I don't waste it. I put it on a background. Even if I cover this with gesso, which I'm going to do right now, I hold on to this paper, and we're just going to cover it with some gesso really quick, like, if I can find a... And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's a background. It'll get covered in layers. And I'm just spreading this around. And I'm not even worried if it doesn't cover everything, because I mainly just want to show y'all some of the techniques that I've used. I didn't even grab the right brush to do this, but it'll be all right. We're just going to get a majority of this covered and spread this gesso out so I don't waste this gesso, because it all costs money, right? All right. This is going to be a super quick, I say, but I think I got a little bit too much gesso out. But that's okay. We're adding texture, because the gesso actually will add a texture to it. If you left it, if you left lines or whatever in it, it'll leave a texture. I'm not even worried about getting the entire piece of paper covered in gesso. What I'll do is I'll just cut this up for ATCs or card fronts or something. So we're just spreading this out as good as we can. And generally, when I'm working on a background, I don't even let the gesso dry. I just keep going. It might dry a little bit from what I've done. In the time it takes me to decide on colors and stuff. Today, we're not going to take a lot of time about discovering colors or anything. I'm just going to grab whatever is handy. And I'm going to pop that paintbrush in some water, and I got a rag here. Let's use these environmental colors. I thought I had a paint too. I got these these are eco-friendly acrylic paints that I picked up at Tuesday morning. Well, and I'm just gonna put a little blue on. Now, can I get the lid back on? That's the question. I'm just going to set that aside to remind myself that that is what I used. There we go. I'm sitting on the floor. Uh-oh, I should have shook that a little bit. It'll be all right. Just going to swish out this brush a little bit. See, I just got a cup of water here. We're just going to try to rinse off a bunch of that gesso that I didn't wipe around. We'll just squeeze it out. Now, I try not to mix the colors a whole lot. Like, I'll come up and I'll move the blue around a little bit in the gesso, and I'll just move the blue for a little bit. The blue pieces that I put down, the blue blobs, move them around into the open space. And that's all I'm doing, is just moving the blue around a little bit. Might scoop some of it up and bring it down on this other edge here. All right, now I'll go into that green, and I don't care if they mix a little bit. It actually looks pretty cool. Come down here and do this bit. I don't know how much you're seeing, but mainly I want to just show what I got the different textures with on her paper. I'm not real keen on whether this background is 100%. I just want to have something I can chop up and turn into ATCs. Okay. I would like to brighten this just a little bit. So I'm going to throw some yellow on it. Or maybe not. Let's see. Might let that sit in the water a minute. Let's see. What color do I want to use? Let's use this Folk Art. This is called Punch Passion. And like I said, I'm just trying to get color down right now. I'm not real concerned about what it is or how much I have of it. Something that's really cool to do also is to do just like this and let the paint dry just like that. That'll give you a texture there as well. Okay, so we'll move this pink around a little bit. I locked him in the bathroom. He was being annoying, so I put him and his litter box off into the bathroom and he could sit in there for a while. I don't know what it is about when an animal starts getting old. They want everything to go their way. And he's been like that this whole last couple weeks. He's just been... He wants the windows open after he's had his breakfast. And if you're late getting his breakfast, he complains about you're late getting his breakfast. And oh, by the way, servant, you know, that's what I feel like. The cat's servant. And we're actually, with the addition of the pink, I am getting enough paint where I've about covered this yellow up. And see, I even got some white streaks in there from the gesso. Let's add a little bit more pink on this edge over here. And pull it out of the... Get you back up in there. There we go. I thought about starting the project that'll hold the 4x4 that y'all are sending, but then I watched Sonia's video and I said, well, let me do that really quick. Oh, I met the sweetest lady today at the store when I was working. She was looking for rug yarn, and for some reason we don't carry rug yarn anymore. But I was talking with her and she said, look what, I just left the fair. Our state fair ended and she had picked up her pieces that she had entered into the state fair. She said she entered 22 crocheted items. And out of the 22, she won 18 ribbons, y'all. 18 ribbons. I'm telling you, if you have a fair that comes to your town or close to you, take your time to enter your items because they are having a very hard time getting crafters and people to enter their items. They've had a very, very a huge decrease in the amount of entries they've gotten. I entered my apple pie one year and won a second place ribbon, and I got a first place ribbon on a sewn apron. So, you know, and her story was so sad though. Let me tell you about her story. She said her son had told her, you know, Mom, you need to enter your stuff. It's really good. She said, oh, I'm not that good. This makes me tear up because it made her tear up when she was telling me. But then her son died, and I'm trying not to cry. I'm so empathic that I feel everything like this. But she said he died, and then that year she entered 5 things and she won 4 ribbons. So ever since he passed away, she has been entering things in the fair and winning ribbons like crazy. So I don't know. I was really touched by her story today, and she was just so sweet, so precious. She said though her problems, she doesn't have any way to sell her items, and or she's trying to sell them, but she doesn't doesn't have a way that she's been able to, put it that way, sell her items. And she says she feels like she's going to get in trouble for being a hoarder, but she just can't stop making things now because she does it for him. Isn't that sweet? I just thought she was the highlight of my day. She was wonderful. I felt really bad for our florist today. Somehow she pulled a fingernail off. I don't know how she did it. She was unboxing things and she noticed her finger was bleeding and her fingernail was gone. So I worry about her. I hope she's okay. I helped her unbox the rest of the stuff she was going to unbox this morning. A piece of the paintbrush. That's the problem with cheap paintbrushes. The handles fall apart. All right, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to go on. It's not even dry yet, but we're gonna start doing some things. Let me make sure we're still recording after all. Yeah, we are. Okay. The circles, the open circles are done with PVC pieces, PVC piping pieces. I have, I think, 4 different sizes in my bin here. All right, so we'll do circles. And the solid circles are done with a wine cork, okay? So, I get a plate. And I pick a color. Let's see. Let's get some of Folk Art. This is Folk Art. Calypso Sky. This is a really pretty color. And I just put some down. It's nice and thick. That's what I like about Folk Art. All right. And if we take it like this is really, really thick. Just go around until you're covered like that. And then you just set it down and lift it up. And then we can do some different size. I don't know if I can do a big one because I've used a lot of the paint up already. And sometimes I don't clean these. I should, but I don't. And sometimes you'll get a color from a previous time. These kind of look like bubbles, don't they? All right. And then to do the cork, you do the same thing. Just put it down in there. I don't know if I have enough paint on there. It's going to do it does. It just does a little solid color. All right. So I'm going to lift that up and see if y'all can see the different ways that does. And the PVC pipe pieces at like the hardware store, you can pick these up from anywhere from 20 or 30 cents to $1 or so, depending on how big they are. And I just get the little connector pieces that have where you put one end of PVC pipe here and one in there. And then that way it's smooth on both sides. But if like you're near a building site and they're throwing away pieces of PVC, I don't see why you can't just get some, you know, out of the trash and just throw it in your junk. See, this is what I call my junk. This is my junk bin. Some tissue that I might use to crumple and do stuff. Scott brought me this home and he said he wasn't sure what I'd do with it. I don't see why I couldn't, like, if I put a whole bunch of paint down, I could put a whole bunch of circles down. We might try that. But, we'll just keep going here. All right, so let's see. Circles. The other thing I did was I did some circles with the wine cork. So we got the wine cork, the plate, and I just use a plate, a regular paper plate. And I'm just going to use this same blue paint, but put some Craft Smart white in it. And then we're going to add some water. And I'll just take my paintbrush wet and plop it down there, and it doesn't matter if this water is dirty or what, it'll just add to the character. And I'm just going to use the paintbrush and kind of squish this around because you want it really runny. That's not quite runny enough. There we go. And we got all different colors going in there, but that's okay. So now when you put the cork in and you put it on your paper, if you tilt your paper really quick and maybe chunk it like this, see, you get that runny mark. See how it runs? And you can take and you shake it and it'll make it change direction. So that's all I did to get those. And you can do several of them. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then lift it up and hit your paper down. And you'll get that run, the little runs. There you go. You got some runs. So we'll call that done. You can also do that with the PVC pieces if you want. And get some runs from them even. Just chaunch your paper. It's not doing very well. It needs to be a little bit watery. But that's okay. You get the idea of what you have to do. That's the important thing. Might add some more white dots off. Because remember, this is going to get all chopped up. And see, I'm also getting some splatters. Trying to use up the paint on my and it all goes down to you're just playing and having fun. Don't think about it so hard. Amy, I know you say that's your biggest problem is you try to think too hard, but I think you're doing great on your canvases. Just let it go and just play. That's the most important thing about being creative is playing. All right, so if we chunk this, see what, we won't get any more. The dots, I'm pretty sure everybody knows how to do dots, but we'll do that last. This is just where I've punched something out and I used it as a stencil because there's the pieces I used. And when I do that, I just put paint out with my paintbrush and then I just dab it around. I try to use a paintbrush that's like a stippling brush, or it's just something kind of fluffy. I would use that. I don't know the names of brushes or what their original purpose is. I just use them the way that I feel like using them. I will use this as a stencil over here. We'll add some of these ovals. Let's do bright red, just to give it a pop, a real pop of color. Okay. So I just put where if I'm using one that's just a punch, I just put it down and then just kind of dab it. When you get to the edges, just dab. Don't try to actually paint with it. You're just dabbing. And we'll go ahead and do this one too. I'll do 3 of them. Even though I have more there, I'm just going to do the 3. And what's happening is because those circles weren't dry underneath, some of it's turning a little bit pink. But that's all right. See, that's not real smooth because I'm dealing with wet paint underneath. If I took the time to dry it, it would be better. Uh-oh, see, I'm getting underneath it because I'm not paying attention. My mind wandered. And I'm not going to worry about it because you never know when you cut it what you're going to end up with. And I just painted myself. Awesome. I can be colory too. My son is actually working at a new job today in a warehouse. And I'm kind of hoping it'll turn into something permanent, but we'll see. He works through a temp agency because it's so hard for anybody to get a job here right now that he's always worked through a temp. Ever since he got out of the Navy, he's worked for Randstad. And you see what's also happened is I picked up some of the paper, so now the yellow paper's exposed, and I'm not going to worry about that. Not worried about it at all, okay? So that's how I use something I've stamped out, ovals, that would end up in the trash, I save and utilize as a stencil. So that's a paper stencil, just using something you've punched out and would end up in the trash. You've got a stencil there. Now the funny little dots that she pointed out are made with this. It's just a, it's like one of those things to open jars. You know, you put it on your jar like this and you can open the top easy. I just use that, and you see I don't clean them. This has even probably got paint on it that's on the ones that Sonia has. And all I do for them is plop them in paint. So I'm going to put some purple paint down now, just so you can see what it does in a different spot. It might mix a little bit with this red, because I'm using the same plate. See, just the same styrofoam plate. And what I do is I just plop it in there. And if you plop some of it off, then when you put it down on your paper, you end up, and it makes little dots. And that's all there is to making those little dots. So we've done that one. So I'll show you, see? And it even picked some of the white up from the previous painting and added dots from it there. It's just a way to do fast backgrounds. And see, you get nice and pretty too. I got 2 of those. Now another one that's a cool texture, this is just one of those kitchen sponges that has the plastic stuff on the outside. This is getting kind of hard where the sponge is full of paint that dried, but I'm not worried about it. I got this at the Dollar Tree for next to nothing, and I've got all this other space that's still available. Let's do a different color paint. I probably should have brought more than one paper plate in here, but that's okay. This one is called Turquoise by Folk Art. Sorry you guys, I've got a little bit of acid indigestion. I don't know what's going on. My stomach's just not been, if I eat, I get an upset stomach. I don't know what's going on. I'm just paranoid of doctors. You know what? This is acting like it's gone solid on me. Whoa! All right, we've got some turquoise. It plopped out, big old glob of it. Just take your sponge, doesn't matter where. Pick some of this up, tap some off over to the side, and then when you push it down, the longer you push it, the better. And you can go back to that first glob and pick up more of that paint. All right, now you can see what that does is it gives you like the netting look. I don't know, can you see that? A little netting right here. And this is the dots. All right, now for something super fun. We've got all these different colors. We can pull out a flip-flop. This is not my dirty flip-flop. This is my dirty flip-flop. All right, we're just gonna take the flip-flop. Let's use the heel of the flip-flop this time. It has almost like a brick pattern on it. And I go on my newspaper that I've got down here to get some of it off and then push it in. And it'll give you like a brick pattern. And you can go back in the paint that you've tried to pull some off of, that you put down on your newspaper, and pick it back up with your flip-flop. And then you can go back into your paints, pick up some more, and then on your scrappy newspaper, you can, or if you wanted to just have another piece of art paper where you're doing another background, you can do that. So that's a way to get some texture with a flip-flop. And I know everybody's like, a flip-flop? But you get a really cool texture in it. All right, so there's a flip-flop. All right, the lines. Let's see. I've got, this was an old Kmart's $5 award card. And you're just gonna run that through here, okay? And we've picked up all this paint that was on our tray. You can just make lines with it. You can run it like this and make a long line, or you can just do little lines like that. And that's how I made my sun's in those postcards I made. This is what I used to make the sun's rays. You can curve this. You can make it straight like that, or you can curve it with your fingers and get a curved line. We'll do some straight ones here. And don't be afraid to go off the edge of the paper. As long as you've got something under your paper to work with, that makes it look like it's coming in from the side. All right. I'm gonna do some curved ones over here. And I'm just scraping the paint so it's in a pile. I'm just using what's on my palette. Go across some of these. That looks kind of cool. So that's how I made the lines. Just giving you a kind of an overview of it all, because I don't know what you're seeing. All right, and say I've got this. It's just a rag that I've been cleaning with. You can go and clean off your card a little bit here. Pick up some paint and just plop it down on your paper, and it'll give you a whole different look. It might even flatten out some of the paint you already have on the page and give you another texture. I'm gonna throw that back in my bin. And you can use it on your plate. Pick up a bunch of paint if you want to cover a wider area. I wouldn't do more than 3 colors at a time on the same plate, or you'll end up with a muddy mess. Just my opinion. Been there, done that. You get too many colors and then it really does wash it out. There. You're just making texture in a background. There's some gauze. That's pretty hard and tough. Let's see what we get if we do some red on this side. Again, I'm using the same paper plate, and I'm just gonna dab this in here. It's an old used, if you wanna just pick up some odd shapes, oddity. You can tell I've been at work. My brain's just not working. We spent the morning divvying up the seasonal palettes that came in last Friday and sorting and remembering where we had what stacked. My brain is just, whoo. It's almost looking a little bit gothic on that side of the page now. And I've got these funky foam stamps. I don't really use them for much. I've got Boo and a Ghost. But a Ghost, we're not going to use those, but you can. You can use those on your background. You could use this. I don't know, this is something my husband gave me. It's a drill gauge to tell you how big your drill bits are, and he said he didn't need it. So I said, well, I can make little circles with a paintbrush, just go through, make circles that way. Don't throw anything away until you've tried it out on making backgrounds, because you never know.